Hey there, YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger. Check out my Mr. Bungle t-shirt I got for my birthday. Isn't that cool? So yeah, tomorrow's the 28th. It's Rob Fetter's birthday. Happy birthday to Rob Fetters. We love you, Rob Fetters. Today was our fourth remote. This fuse holder failed. If this tab drops down, it ceases to make contact. If I press it back up, it will make contact. And that was why we had no audio today. I did figure that out at the remote. We have a 40 volt, like a big boy battery, and that powers the main power amp, the heavy duty, the big subwoofer, play the bass. And then the PA speakers, they all run off this 40 volt battery that goes through this fuse. And this fuse holder decided to break itself somehow. It doesn't make contact when it drops down. So we had tested this. We had played through it, and then when we get to the remote, it's not working. So yeah, the first thing, I guess I should explain, we did 4 remotes this year. The first one, we didn't have any technical issues. The other 3 were all bad. We had batteries that just popped their circuit, and then they weren't putting out any power. And I said, where's the meter? And we had forgot to pack one, so my wife went home. In the meantime, I realized how I could apply a charge on the charge port of the battery, and that would deactivate the internal fuse being tripped and fix the battery. And I did. And I fixed, there was 2 batteries that did this. I've used them for the same application for like 12 years. I've never had this happen. And 2 of them did it. And I fixed them both. And after I fixed it at the location, I just put a charge on the front. It came back on. I plugged it in and it worked. And I played the rest of the day with that same battery. So I don't know. There's been some weird gremlins like this thing breaking. We had on the other remote, we didn't have power on the power amp. Same thing. Everything else, the lights are dancing, and I've got no sound. And that was the power cable on the big 40 volt battery. Inside that battery, there's a solder connection. And the positive solder connection just came undone. Now, immediately, my wife accessed a portable USB soldering iron that we've had in the tool, the personal bag, it's called. And the personal bag has things like...
It's got nothing personal. It's like tools and fuses.
Yeah, well, it started out with stuff like ibuprofen, sunblock, mosquito, lip balm, antacids, pain reliever, cough drops, EpiPen. Now it's pretty much, USB soldering iron, soldering flux, resistors. Anyway, we got this 5 volt USB soldering iron, and I'm trying to rig up a 5 volt power supply off a hard 12 from an SLA, like a motorcycle battery. And it wasn't, like the LED wasn't coming on. The iron was getting warm. It was almost getting hot. So I was like, you know what? I'm hitting this with hard 12 volts. We're going to eliminate the step down transformer and go right into 12 volts. I probably will blow the soldering iron, but I have no other choice. And when I hit it with 12, the LED lit up. It melted and it worked fine. So those 5 volt USB soldering irons that you got that don't really work, run them off at 12 volts. And You probably will thank me later. Now, like I said, there's been 4 of these remotes this season. 3 of them, we had issues. Today, it was a multitude of things, and that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video. We had this fuse holder that just dropped down and lost contact. So immediately I tested the battery. The battery didn't look quite right. It looked a little low. So I hooked up a 24 volt. We had the 40 volt battery. That's what you're supposed to use for this amp. It's a 600 watt, 300 watts for the subwoofer, 150 per channel for the satellite. It's a 600 watt Class D amp. It likes to see 36, 42 volts. I wired up a 24 volt battery, 2 12.5 SLAs. And we jiggled this and got it working and played like most of the day. We ran off that 24 volt battery, which was a mistake. I should have went back to the 40 volt because we didn't have full power on our amp. And I switched it out and it sounded noticeably better. Also, this is a new rig. This is all new. I built this for this purpose. We tested it at home, and this is no small feat building this. We test it at home, it works, we bring it out there, and it doesn't work. Now that's enough to ruin it for me. You know, when we have issues like this, it just puts me in the dog, like just the worst place to be mentally. Like I am not a talented guitar player, so all the stars need to line up and I need to mentally be in a really positive place for me to be able to play this stuff right and get good versions of these songs. So as soon as we have an issue like this, it's like the whole day is shot, you know. Anyway, we got this because it popped up on my auction site. I didn't even know they made it. And it records all of the inputs, which is unbelievable for post-editing. So the only thing is it doesn't sound really phenomenal compared to some of the mixing boards we have sound a little better. And there's no master bus EQ. So I had one that I had built like 15 years ago, this little stereo EQ, and it's not ideal. It's really a bass guitar EQ. It's really not ideal at all, okay? That's the EQ we ran on the master for this. Because you really do, anybody who's doing a live band will tell you on the main bus, the main stereo output, there's a compressor, there's usually a noise gate, sometimes there's a limiter, and there'll be EQ. So I have an EQ coming. It'll probably come here tomorrow. I have a little EQ coming that we're going to build into an outboard box or maybe in this chassis. I don't know. The little one doesn't sound good. I got another bigger one that I know that sounds good that's here already. But I just have to mount it in a chassis and give it a power supply, you know. So it's just a little bit more work on that side of the deal. My guitar was doing this weird feedback ping where all of a sudden it would just go like pew and feedback. And I think maybe it's because I got a gold foil cover and put it on this humbucker and I didn't melt wax in it. So I've got to either remove that or wax it. I was not happy with my guitar tone today. Really what I got to do is run the center channel amp. It just doesn't sound good through the PA. If I go direct into one of my little contraption amps, I can get it sounding good enough for the in-ear effect. And then whatever I pick up on the recorder, I can doctor that up in post, so I don't have to worry about it. Because we're getting individual stereo tracks of everything now. So I can, and if it's clean, if I'm recording pretty much clean guitar, there's a lot of room to work with that. So moving forward, the solution is I don't have my main voicing of the guitar through the PA. I have that through my center channel amp. If you push the volume on the PA, it just doesn't sound as good as coming through my center channel amp for some reason. And that's really beyond me. I've messed with the global EQ and volume levels and patches, and I know what the answer is get it where it sounds good and turn it down where it sounds bad. And that's a good enough answer. So we had the feedback issue with the guitar. We had the mains weren't working at all. We had the crappy EQ. And then the new camera, the display was flashing like white, like it was getting too much power because we were running a battery and a 5-volt coming in to like replenish the battery so we wouldn't drain anything. I have a battery bank, and the solution for that is you unplug the battery from the camera and just run the bank. So a lot of times with this stuff, I learn as I go, and we try to test stuff at home, but really until you get the remote and go through the experience. So right now I'm going to replace this with a larger, this is a 5 millimeter, 5 centimeter fuse. I'm going to get a 6 or whatever it is, 5 millimeter diameter. I'm going to put a 6 in it, which is a bigger, and I will be more conscious of when I apply the heat. What you got to do is you put a clip in here. You put a heat clip, and I didn't do that when I built it, and it cooked it and caused it to fail. So again, I'm not here to try to pretend that I'm some master level tech who never makes mistakes. It's all it is mistakes, and then you learn and redo it sans mistakes. That's how it goes. So this year was, I really don't want to say chalk it up as a loss because we got some great videos. As far as the music and the videos go, but like there's a song called Ascending Nice. It just sounded terrible today. The guitar did. And I don't know if it's this patch through this new setup. So like I said, with the individual tracks, I can go back and re-record my guitar tracks for that. If it's specifically one part of the song with the rotary, like the Leslie where it wasn't right, maybe that effect, I need to change something up with that effect, or get something that sounds better going on a recording rather than through this PA, because that's what I'm having an issue is like with the headphones, I'm getting one thing, and then when I run it through these PA speakers, it's different. So probably it would be better for us if we got some 12s, if we got some better speakers. They're $100 for two, brand new. These are junky PA speakers we're playing through. They're really crappy. Like, we have some crappy speakers. And I mean, we got to fit everything in a Toyota, and that really isn't the point. It isn't like playing really loud, and well, we may need to beef them up or do something with that. I don't know. I know that I will eventually figure it out. And the other thing that I want to stress is this the Zoom multi-track, live track. It may not be the answer. If I'm running into where all of a sudden the mix sounds like shit on the PA because of this mixer, I'm going to have to lose it. I am building another silverware service box with this. Now, I've got a lower powered amp. I've got a 200 watt amp board, and I very well may replace that with the, it's a little bit more money, but it all depends on how this plays out. But we're going to be building this. I have to do some testing where, like, I just plug in a pair of headphones and a microphone and listen to the preamps on this, and then compare it listening to the preamps on the Zoom to see, is this in my head? Because I know when I plug a regular dynamic mic into this and I plug a reverb pedal into the effects loop, it just sounds phenomenally great, this mixer, with just a pair of headphones. Even without the reverb, just a dynamic mic. So I'm going to have to do some experimenting. We're going to have to do more learning about this and applying. I'm going to be building another all-in-one. We're going to be improving the existing all-in-one, and we'll get this all figured out. The way I'm building this stuff, you can pull the batteries out of the individual units. They're not hard mounted, so I won't have to double dip on buying the batteries. It'll just basically be the amp is the only really expensive thing, and they're not that much money. The amp, for a cheap amp, you can get it for $15. For an expensive amp, it's about $35. So it's really not that much money. But we had this feedback chirping on the guitar. I also, when I set the PA speakers up, I set them up in the back. And every time I've ever put the PA speakers in the back, I had that feedback. I've got to move it up so that the tweeters are in front of the pickup. Now, the other thing is we only have one real speaker stand. So if we're going to use stands, we really need to get another speaker stand, because today the weather, all week it said it was going to be 74. One of these four remotes I keep talking about, it was the same thing. It said 74. It was so hot on that 74 day. I said I'm never going to play if it says 74 because it's too hot. Today it said 74 all week, and then today it dropped down to 72. When I went outside, there was no sun. It was gray, and it was cold. Like my mom would say, chilly, but it had gale force winds. So it was like getting punched. It was like being in a boxing match today. Just getting pummeled with these freezing cold winds. And then having the equipment failure. When it comes down to things like components, I really have no one else to blame but myself. I overheated this, but that doesn't make it any more or less convenient when we're there. It doesn't make it any less frustrating. yeah, it's my fault that this thing took too much heat. But it doesn't help me any when it throws it off by a half hour of me just staring at it. I mean, it was only 2 minutes of staring, but it felt like a half hour. So ultimately, all my fault. And when something like this happens, I just get this feeling like it's hopeless and I need to give up. But we were running the amp off 24 volts with a shit EQ. And in the past, I've been able to figure out how to alter these patches to get what I want. So with some perseverance, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to figure out, we've got other speakers here. Maybe I use my Gauss speakers. I don't know. I just know that I wasn't happy with what we had today. And I'm going to be working on, we kind of spitball these ideas, test them at home, take it to the site, and then learn where the rubber meets the road. And then I've got to come home and I'll make a video like this so I can really process everything really well in my head and know the list of things that I need to do to get back closer to where everything is just going to be plug and play. Because this all-in-one, it's really nice. Being able to just throw something down, plug 3 speaker cables in, and 3 input cables in. It's, 1 for the bass and 2 for the guitar because it's stereo. And then you're ready to go. I mean, yeah, you got to put the power plug for the power amp. You got to screw that in too. But the system and the idea, this has been implemented and we've got it to sound as good as it's sounding on these videos. So I'll need, if you can, to help me with feedback, letting me know what you think of the mixes, what you think of the tones. That's nice. I didn't get a real lot of comments on this last batch of songs. And I was hoping to really wow everybody, but we never really had a whole batch of them of all the good stuff come out at once. It was a little bit here, a little bit there. So I understand. And you don't, what are you going to say? Sounds good. Music tends to not really translate very well on YouTube. It really doesn't. So unless it's something spectacularly amazing, and that spectacularly amazing stuff, through the YouTube filter, it loses so much of its appeal. That spectacularly amazing filters down to pretty good on the end consumer user level experience. And if it's a piece of music I've written and you've never heard, well, nobody wants to hear your original music. So I realize I'm asking a lot. Anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me on this remote wrap-up is what I call these. I like it when the remote wrap-ups are 7 minutes. If they're 25 minutes, it wasn't good. Anyway, I've got my work cut out for me. I will say I feel really good. I didn't overdo it at all today, and I did sleep last night. And I don't think I'll be sore. So hats off to Gopti for all your work loading today. The last few times I got involved with the loading process, and I really regretted that. So thank you. You did really good. You sounded fantastic. It's never Grumpy's fault. She always does just a phenomenal job. So we'll catch you guys next time. Maybe it'll be next year when we're talking about remotes again. Maybe I will say I've had enough.
We did have a field repair at Gelwick's Park. It was the orange battery.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. This whole I said earlier. We were on because I knew that I was soured. I was, because typically, if everything works right, I will start laughing and smiling and saying, "This is so fucking cool that we can do this, Gampty. This is so unbelievably cool. Let's eat some lunch." And we sit down and have this little picnic lunch, and we have a little chit chat, and we're all happy, and it's like birds are singing. And the other side of that is what we got today. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I am going to be fixing this set of problems, and then I've got stuff coming. I ordered parts to build another all-in-one for this, and the reason that we're doing that is specifically because of this mixer. I believe this mixer is the best sounding mini mixer that we have in our home. But I think this sounds even better than the Behringer that we run our indoor rig. Anyway, you guys, hug your pets. Stay warm. See how quick that happened? And peace.